to the First Unitarian Church of Honolulu. My name is Eleanor, and I will be your worship associate this morning. We are a church committed to boldly growing compassion, justice, and joy. We are a congregation of truth seekers. We don't congregate to declare the truth. We come together to share our evolving truths. You are most welcome in this place for this discussion this morning. If you want to know more about our compassionate, just, and joyful activities, we show announcements up on the monitors before both services. There's also a website, and you can also sign up for email newsletters. For those more technophobic members of our community, we also provide announcements in text, that paper stuff, up at the front that you can collect every Sunday morning. We would like to announce that Reverend Dr. Jennifer Kapuna Kwong has been accepted as an instructor at the UU College of Social Justice. Woo-hoo. So Jennifer right now is training in Boston during the last weekend in September. So we will share him joyfully with the world, and then we will ask him politely to come back in early October. Thank you, please, and very much. The other announcement is, please be sure to stop by the table in the gallery to sign a postcard and sign up for phone banking in support of marriage equality. Woo-hoo.
Good morning. Our story for all ages today is called A Potato Story. Okay. Once upon a time, a teacher asked her students to bring some potatoes to school in a plastic bag. The children were to name each potato after a person that child hates. Like this, the number of potatoes would be equal to the number of people the children hated. Okay, where's your ugly faces? Okay. On the day of the assignment, the children brought their potatoes, named after people they hated. Some had 2, some had 3, and some had even 5. The teachers now said they had to carry these potatoes around with them everywhere they went all week. To class, to playground, for recess, to lunch, to bed, everywhere. Everywhere.
Even to church?
Even to church. As the days passed, the children started to complain. The potatoes were rotting. They smelled. They got all mushy and ugly. And some of the children started to complain that they were too heavy to carry around. And after 1 week, the assignment ended. The teacher now asked, "How did you feel about this assignment?" The children discussed their problems with having to carry around these potatoes that weighed so much and smelled. Then the teacher said, "This situation is very similar to what you do when you carry in your heart hate for other people. You carry this hate in your heart everywhere you go, and this hate makes your heart smelly and heavy. If you can't bear the smell and weight of spoiled potatoes for 1 week, then how can you bear the weight of spoiled relationships year after year in your heart?" Okay, happy potatoes. The children understood, and all the children and potatoes lived happily ever after. The end.
You shall know how to have joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall.
Truth is a very interesting topic with a lot of layers and a lot of moving parts. Got truth? How would you know if you got truth? Is truth setting you free? As Jesus reportedly said, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." When his audience asked, free from what? Since they were already free sons of Abraham, Jesus explained that when you know your true spiritual nature, it will set you free from slavery to evil. That is pretty serious truth. Note that every major religion shares a similar message. In this house, we're more likely to say that our search for truth, meaning, and right relations will set us free from suffering. Essentially, that is the same deep message. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I hope that this message is true. I need to believe that all this effort is not wasted, that we put into affirming and promoting principles boldly to grow compassion, justice, and joy. After all this effort, if truth does not set us free, I am going to be upset. In fact, we need relevant and effective truth working for us at a variety of levels. For example, first, we need truth at the level of topical events or issues. Man bites dog. Well, did he or didn't he? Yes or no? Topical events and issues are symptomatic of underlying root causes. When we can describe events accurately and frame issues with empirical accountability, then we have some hope of identifying and addressing underlying causes responsibly and effectively. Second, going deeper, we need truth at the level of causality or social scientific analysis. A causes B, B causes C, C causes A, nice causal feedback loops. We also call this the interdependent web, of which we are all a part, right? With functionally true understanding at this level, we have a reasonable chance to play the game well, so to speak, to get desirable outcomes like compassion, justice, and joy in return for our effective efforts. Third, going deeper, we need truth at the level of organizing principles and structure in physical, biological, and social systems. With honest understanding of underlying organizing principles in our life support systems, not only do we act more effectively, but we can actually change the rules themselves about how greed, hate, and ignorance organize our social systems. Now, this is the proper work of a church. Finally, deeper still, we need functional truth at the level of cultural myth and deep story. Ultimately, the transcending paradigms and mindsets through which we view the world, ultimately they determine how we behave. Why commit ourselves to fundamentally unbelievable beliefs when fundamentally believable beliefs give us a much better chance at responsible and effective behaviors? Again, this is the proper level to focus the work of a church. Remember, religious institutions are uniquely qualified to affirm and promote believable belief systems. In fact, isn't this what we mean by our fourth UU principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning? That we actually affirm and promote a search for believable beliefs that drive at least functional, if not outright joyous, behavior. All right. Assuming that reasonable truth is working for us at all levels, or that we are honestly committed to a free and responsible search for it anyway, what do we do about truth as people of faith? When we know what we think we know, what do we do about it? Pop quiz, or mom quiz, or parental quiz, to be gender neutral about it. Parental quiz. Who said, quote, "Only through the possession of knowledge can people mold their futures wisely and responsibly. Free access to information and knowledge is vital to responsible world citizenship." Who said that? This is not multiple choice. It's either true or false. Right? This is true, false. I'll tell you who said that. Bugs Bunny said that. He might have, I don't know. Wasn't there. I'll tell you who said this. You said this. This is a quote directly from the Charter of Principles in Social Justice adopted by this congregation at a congregational meeting some years ago. You said this. Good job. In your Charter of Principles, you also declared your intention to act whenever a denial of these principles appears and whenever an opportunity for their strengthening is present. You said, "We believe that our church itself must stand for these principles and be a responsible and effective representative of them in our community." In fact, we have a 60-year legacy of progressive action in this congregation, a 200-year denominational heritage in this country, and almost 450-year heritage of progressive religion in the world, dating to the mid-1500s in Transylvania and to the 1600s in England. Did you know that several Unitarian ministers traveled to Selma, Alabama in 1965 to answer Dr. King's call for clergy to support voting rights? Those ministers included the Reverend Gene Bridges, the second minister of this church and the first minister here in this building. Did you know that the first ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, the first ACLU presence in Hawaii was merely a telephone on a desk? And that desk was in this building. In fact, the ACLU is one of a number of groups that members of this congregation have helped to found in previous years. Did you know that we are now partnering again as closely with the ACLU as we have in years, organizing together to make marriage equality the law in Hawaii when the special session convenes on October 28th? We are now in the midst of a historic moment in civil rights and marriage equality. And the First Unitarian Church is at the center of this historic moment. This is who we are. This is what we do best. This is our true congregational legacy and our progressive denominational heritage. Did you know that Kani Nui Akea, the worship of Kani, is the original indigenous religion of Oahu, was driven underground twice. First when Kamehameha conquered Oahu, then again by the 500-year-old doctrine of discovery that declares European Christian culture to be inherently superior to indigenous cultures and indigenous lands to be fair game for appropriation. Did you know that due to being driven underground, the first public celebration, the first public worship of Kani by Kani Nui Akea was right here in this sanctuary in January of 2012. First time in 120 years. Did you know that UU World is about to feature an article on our Kani Nui Akea First Unitarian Partnership as an example to other congregations of what indigenous partnership can look like when it's done well? We are in the midst of a historic moment in repudiating the doctrine of discovery and recognizing indigenous cultures and religions. And again, First Unitarian Church is at the center of this historic moment. We are not doing some little social justice thing here, folks. We are waking a sleeping giant of a social justice program. This is who we are. This is what we do best. This is our true congregational legacy in social justice and our progressive denominational heritage in the world. So, as we ask ourselves, what do we do about what we hold to be true? Let's reframe this question. Let's ask instead, what is our next historic moment in social justice? We are in the midst of not one, but two historic social justice moments right now. What is our next historic moment as a church? I am not going to stand here and tell you what this historic moment might be. I hold this to be true, that together we think much better than I think alone. I assure you this is true. Ask anybody. Ask him. No, instead, I am going to challenge us as a church, inspired by our principles, boldly to seek our next historic moment and to seize that social justice moment responsibly and effectively. Now, this should not be that difficult for us to do as a church. If it is true that we live in a world increasingly fueled by greed, anger, and ignorance, where the medical industry destroys health, where the food industry destroys nutrition, where the legal industry destroys justice, where the education industry destroys knowledge, where the political industry destroys democratic process, where the communication industry destroys information, where the religion industry destroys moral behavior, where the banking industry destroys economies, where the policing industry destroys law and order, where the energy industry destroys environments, and where disaster capitalism industries destroy societies. If this is true, then it should not be difficult, inspired by our principles, for us to realize our next historic moment. Remember, the greatest threat to truth is not falsehood. It is not doubt. The greatest threat to truth is complacency. May the truths that we share energize our vision. May the songs that we share boost our courage. May the stories that we share enhance our wisdom. And may the principles that we share shine as our beacon, lighting our way to many years of historic moments yet to come. Blessed be, and I suggest that it won't be so unless we wake the sleeping giant, rise to the challenge, and make